Varangandar Vikagiri Shishi Radha Vinod Vihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashuttarishita Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Guru Dev ki jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashuttarishita Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashuttarishita Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalala Prabhishtam Vishnupad Ashuttarashita Shishimad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityalala Prabhishtam Vishnupad Ashuttarashita Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalala Prabhishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gaurkishodas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityalala Prabhishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityalala Prabhishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shikor Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल कोरमंडल ब्रजमंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय. सर्व अविश्व प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय. श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय. श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जाय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि. अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः. भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Gopal Ghanasham Prabhu, and I see Ganga Mataji and Vidyalala Sadidi, and somebody else is there, maybe Indira Mataji. If you're at a comment, I'll see your name. Also, pranams to all devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jaydev Prabhu, and all other devotees. All right, so we are going to read now. Yesterday, we read this article by our Param Gurudev, Śrīla Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gos. What was it? It was forgot what the title was exactly, but it was about being the attitude of a servant is to be seen, not the seer. And now today I just picked another, whatever article first came up for me by our Param Gurudev, and it is, what is the title of this one? It is Jīva-sevā and Jīve Dayā. So we'll read that article, and then right after that article, and the same issue of Raise of the Harmonist, this is Raise of the Harmonist 2000, Kārtika 2003, I think it's number 12. If you want to get the original article, you can find it by typing that in Google search. So the article after that is The Glories of Sadhu Sangha by Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj, our Param Gurudev's dear godbrother. So we will read those two articles in this session. And as I've mentioned yesterday, once we send this songbook to the printers, then I will be able to really focus on this program a lot more and prepare for it and like that. Now I'm just seeing whatever comes up, whatever Raise of the Harmonist article comes up, and I'm just going with that. But later on, then we can finish going through Shikshashtakam and Bhajanahasya and all that. Getting close to the end, right? Now now I'm finished with all the songs, adding in all the songs, and all the chapters are laid out. And now I'm like today, my program, I'm going to be going through with the book designer. We're going to go through and give table of contents for each chapter, and we're entering in the table of contents manually, like the page numbers for the table of contents. So I'm going to do that with her. And also I'm sending in the back matter for the songbook. And the back matter, just yesterday, I wrote something about melodies, kirtan melodies. So that will go in the appendix. And also I provide the table of contents. Sorry, I provide the different melody, like the ragas that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur selected in his first edition of Kalyana Kalpataru. In the Uchvas section, he actually selected different ragas for each, like for a few of the, like for Gopinath Mamani Vedana Suno, Shri Radhakrishna Parakamalemana, Vibhavari Shesha, all the songs in the last section of Uchvas, he actually said this song should be in this raga and like that. So we're going to provide all that information. And then I made a very in-depth guide for Sanskrit meters with a sample verse for each meter. And I made it, all the gurus, all the long syllables, I made it big and bold. And then all the lagus, all the short syllables, I made it like thin and gray, and so that people can start to learn how to recite all the different meters. And what else? Anyways, just different things like that. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just sending that all in for being laid out, and then the book's done. Yeah, it's already being, yeah, anyways, okay. So, oh, Haribo, Rohini Nandan Prabhu. Oh, and Rupa Raghunath Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, Haribo. And Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Haribo. All right, so let's begin. Jīva, where is it? I just had it open. Sorry, let me just find this. It's resources, Raise of the Harmonists, 2002, right? Is that what I said? Yeah. Oh no, 2003. That's the Gaur Purnima edition. Oops, I said Kārtika. Got it wrong. All right. There it is. Okay. Here's the article. Jīva-sevā and Jīve Dayā. Service to the Jīva and compassion upon the Jīva. By Śrīla Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Goswami Mahārāja. Okay, so he says, most people do not finally differentiate between the two words Jīva-sevā and Jīve Dayā. Usually, a person fails to properly understand the distinguishing characteristics of Jīva-sevā and Jīve Dayā, and therefore ends up with an understanding that is completely opposite to the truth. In this world, many people cherish the desire to be celebrated as a great thinker, magnanimous, benevolent, a well-wisher of the society, and a well-wisher of the world. But because such people do not properly understand this subject, the culmination of all their efforts is like the labor of animals. The people of the world are so engrossed in their bodily comforts and in fulfilling their selfish desires that even if a scent of an attitude to serve others is perceived in someone, it is greatly appreciated. Service to others, paraseva, is a virtue. However, if it becomes the deceiving of others, parachalna, it can never be praiseworthy. Simply applying the label service to acts of deception and propagating them as service does not make them service in the true sense. Will the thoughtful and civilized human society of the 20th century not understand this fact just once? The terms paraseva and para-upakar. In the terms paraseva and para-upakar, the word para means topmost, because lots of times it's understood as others, right? Service to others, doing things to benefit others. But also the word para means topmost. In other words, it means Paramatma Vishnu. Thus, the word para refers only to the service of Paramatma, the topmost entity. In one sense, the jiva is also superior. However, as long as he has anarthas, he is bound by the three modes of nature. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartam tatkritam chavipadyate. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, verse 5. It says, due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be a material product, and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. To render service to the jiva who has been conditioned from a time without beginning, whose consciousness is covered by the three modes of Maya, and who is distracted from his constitutional nature, is to render service to his condition plagued by anarthas. In other words, service is rendered to enable him to fulfill his enjoying propensity. Many considerations are inseparably tied to the concept of seva. First, one has to consider whether or not the entity to whom service is to be rendered is in fact sevya, an object worthy of worship. In other words, is he Prabhu Tattva, the supreme worshipable reality? Second, service entails pleasing the object of service in a manner that is favorable to him. And third, one must consider the state of consciousness of the servant, of the sevak himself. Is the jiva who has been averse to his constitutional nature and who has been covered by the three modes of material nature from a time without beginning, in fact, Prabhu Tattva? Will increasing the pleasure of one who possesses anarthas bring auspiciousness to him? And what benefit will the sevak, who is trying to bring pleasure to others, derive from these acts? By answering these questions in an impartial manner, we will observe that the term Jīva-sevā is itself not even logical. The jiva is never Prabhu Tattva. He's never Sevya, right? He's never meant to be an object of service. He's not Prabhu Tattva. Maya Disha Maya Vash Ishvare Jive Bhed Heno Jīve Ishvara Saha Kohoto Abhed. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 6:162. The Lord is the master of all potencies, and the living entity is their servant. That is the difference between the Lord and the living entity. However, you declare that the Lord and the living entities are one and the same. The terms Sevyabhiman, possessing the ego of being the object of service, Sevak Abhiman, possessing the ego of being the servant, and Sevabhiman, possessing the ego of being one who renders service. These three terms are meaningless if they are used in relation to one who is bound by Maya, and if they are put into practice by offering that person sense enjoyment. To render service to debauchees, thieves, cheaters, donkeys, horses, trees, and creepers, etc., is nothing but supplying sense enjoyment to jivas who are bound by Maya. None of these entities is Sevya or Prabhu Tattva. A debauchee and a thief are both bound by Maya. It is true that by providing a debauchee with a woman or by giving a thief another's wealth, one renders service to them by furnishing them with sense enjoyment. However, it is also true that these persons will achieve only perpetual inauspiciousness, and by their association, other jivas will surely suffer as well. Rendering service to a jiva bound by Maya, that is, providing him with sense enjoyment, however well it may be dressed up, results only in the suffering of other jivas. This is because trying to satisfy the senses of a particular jiva bound by Maya results in inauspiciousness for that jiva, as well as in suffering from many other jivas. In regard to jivas who are in the stage of bondage, the term Jīva-sevā, service to living entities, does not apply. Yet the term Jīve Dayā, compassion upon other living entities, is credible. And in relation to jivas who are in the liberated stage, Vaishnava-sevā is possible. But acting for the satisfaction of the jiva in his bound stage, while he still has anarthas, cannot be termed real seva. Only compassion, only doya, can be shown to such a person. I'm just remembering, anyways, whatever, I'll talk about that after. So moreover, we cannot show doya to a liberated soul, to a mukta purush, someone to whom we should render service. So the term Jīva-sevā is irrational. But the terms Guru-sevā, Vaishnava-sevā, and Shiva-sevā are completely reasonable. To render service to or please the senses of Guru and the Vaishnavas is essential. To serve those who are liberated from this world and to show compassion towards those who are bound to it are indeed Shuddha Sanatan Dharma, or the jiva's unalloyed eternal occupation. The jiva bound by Maya is not Prabhu, is not master. In other words, he is not Sevya Tattva, the supreme worshipable reality. Many who hear this conception will reveal their loyalty to the opinion of the Baals, one of those, the Baals, one of the Sahajya sects, and their attempts to deceitfully present the jiva as Sevya Tattva, and to thus try to proclaim the conditioned soul to be Narayan. Those who follow the incorrect conception of the Baals consider the state of Lord Narayan, who is the controller of Maya, to be the same as the state of those jivas who are bound by Maya. Thus, they name the living entities Jiva Narayan, the living entity Narayan, Daridra Narayan, Poor Narayan, Ashva Narayan, Horse Narayan, Mruga Narayan, Deer Narayan, Manusha Narayan, human Narayan, and so forth. They preach that the satisfaction of two mundane objects, the body and mind, is indeed service to Narayan. The terms Daridra Narayan, Manusha Narayan, and so forth are as illogical and dishonest as saying, my clay pot is made of gold. Simply adding the names Narayan or Ishwar to the name of a Jiva cannot convert that Jiva into Prabhu Tattva. Rather, it makes him a hypocrite. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Daivatai Samatvainaiva Viksheta Sapashandi Bhaver Dhruvam. It's Hari Bhakti Vilas 117. An atheist, a Pashandi, is one who considers great demigods such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva to be equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan. Sriman Mahaprabhu declares, Je mura kohe Jīv Ishwar hoy sama, she to Pashandi hoy dande tare jama. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 18:115. A foolish person who says that the Supreme Controller is the same as a living entity is an atheist, is a Pashandi, and he becomes subject to punishment by Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. Daridratva, the state of poverty, is not the same as Narayanatva, the state of being Bhagavan, Prabhu Tattva. Rather, the state of poverty is completely devoid of Narayanatva. A deer and a human are not the controllers of Maya. Rather, they are controlled by Maya. Narayan is constantly situated as the indwelling supersoul within the poor, within animals, and within humans. However, the poor, the animals, and humans cannot be regarded as Narayan. The external covering of Maya leads one to perceive a living entity as poor, as an animal, or as a human. Only when this covering and the influence of Maya's throwing potency are dispelled can one clearly witness the real existence of the indwelling witness Narayan and the eternal nature of the pure Jivatma, who is an Angsha or a part of Narayan. Guru and Vaishnavas are not affected by the influence of the external potency of Narayan. Therefore, they are liberated, they are mukta, they are pure, they are shuddha, and eternal, they are nitya. To render constant service to them is indeed the Jiva's eternal engagement. Guru and Vaishnavas are not in the category of ordinary Jivas. As long as a Jiva is seen to be conditioned, it is obligatory to show him compassion. And when a Jiva is seen to be liberated, it is necessary to serve him. Mahabhagavats look upon all with equal vision: a cow, a horse, an ass, and a dog-eater. They see everyone as a Vaishnava. With this knowledge, they engage in rendering service to everyone. In their vision, they do not imagine or impose transcendence upon mundane phenomena. For instance, they do not see the poor as Narayan, humans as Narayan, or the deer as Narayan. This is the misconception of the Baals or the Mayavadis. Mahabhagavats do not imagine the Jivatma to be Narayan. Therefore, they do not render transitory service to the covering of Maya or to the phenomena of the mundane body and mind, which is nothing but the transformation of Maya's throwing potency. Their seva is eternal, and their ego as a servant of Bhagavan is also eternal. What depth of knowledge and intelligence do these persons possess who create chaos in the name of Jīva-sevā or imagine that service to poor Narayan, human Narayan, and dear Narayan is real service, and in so doing, try to establish themselves as great benevolent religious leaders and philanthropists before the ignorant masses of the world. Thoughtful people can easily see through this. However, these fashionable arguments can weaken even wise thinkers within human society and cause them to be deluded by these ordinary matters. Sri Bhagavat does not mention anything about Jīva-sevā. Its message is to render service unto Sri Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas, and have compassion upon the conditioned souls. In the example of King Bharat, Sri Bhagavat shows us that the great Rishi Bharat brought obstacles to his own path of self-realization and to his supreme auspiciousness by serving a jiva in the conditioned state, who had the body of a deer. By denouncing such Jīva-sevā, Sri Bhagavat informs us of the conceptions of devotees who are Madhyam and Uttam Bhagavats. Ishvaretad adhineshu palisheshu dishatsu cha prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti samadhyamam. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-46. A Madhyam Bhagavat is one who loves Ishvar, is friendly towards his bhaktas, shows mercy towards those who are ignorant of bhakti, and neglects those who are inimical to Ishwar or his bhaktas. Sarva bhuteshu yapashed bhagavar bhavamatmana bhutani bhagavatyatman esha bhagavatottama. So this is definition of Madhyamadikari, and now this verse, which we're going to read the translation of, is a definition of an Uttama-adhikari. These verses are from the second chapter of the 11th canto, verses 46 and 45. So, an Uttam Bhagavat, one who sees his own Bhagavad Bhav, his own ecstatic mood of attraction towards Sri Krishna Chandra, when he sees that mood in the hearts of all jivas, Sarva Bhuteshu, and he sees all beings within Krishna Chandra, that person is considered an Uttam Bhagavat. Stavar jangama dekhe na dekhe tar murti sarvatra hoy nija ishta deva spurti. That's from Madhya Lila 8:274. The Mahabhagavat certainly sees everything that is moving and non-moving, but he does not actually exactly see their forms. Rather, wherever he looks, he sees the manifestation of the form of his most worshipable Lord. A Madhyam Adhikari Vaishnava should render service to one who is an Uttam Adhikari, and he should do so for the Uttam Adhikari's happiness and satisfaction. The Madhyam Adhikari Vaishnava should care for him in every respect, even rendering menial service to him. But he should not try to satisfy the senses of the conditioned souls, because by this he will gain no eternal welfare or auspiciousness, either for himself or for others. We have to always keep in mind that when the Atma's eternal relationship with Krishna is awakened, the sole object of the Atma's eternal function, which is service, seva, is Shri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. The sole object of the soul's eternal function of service, seva, is to Shri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. In other words, service should be rendered to the independent, pure form of Bhagavan in Vaikuntha, Bhagavat Swarup, and to Bhagavan's expansions, Tad Vaibhav, but not to the bound jivas or the external energy. I remember when I was traveling with Damodar Maharaj in Australia, I was, how old was I? I was like 15 years old at the time, I think. Anyways, but this point about we should only render service to the pure Vaishnava. And I actually forgot the details of like how, but maybe Damodar Maharaj mentioned to me or something. I think he mentioned to me, he's like, are you, because I was washing his clothes or something, and he's like, are you serving me? And he said, no, because this is like the wrong idea. But we should see everything as like, I'm actually doing this service to Gurudev. Damodar Maharaj is not the object of my service. The object of my service is Gurudev, because he's serving Śrīla Gurudev. And so I'm helping him in his service to Gurudev. I'm not actually serving Damodar Maharaj. I'm serving Gurudev by like that. And I just remember having to shift my way of thinking like that. Like Damodar Maharaj is not the object of my service, it's Gurudev. And I remember that was like a really, yeah, really big transformation in my, yeah, that whole tour, that kind of idea. Because we have forgotten our Swarup and lack transcendental intelligence, the service we perform with the body and mind is synonymous with enjoyment based on gratifying the mundane senses. The object of such service is not Bhagavan and its expansions, rather it is the conditioned soul and the material energy. Neither of these is a pure conscious entity of Vaikuntha. Presently, the consciousness of the conditioned soul is averse to Krishna. To redirect that consciousness toward Krishna is to show the jiva the highest form of compassion. Jīva-sevā is never possible. In other words, the function of the jiva's transcendental senses can never be used to provide sense pleasure to the conscious entities who are covered by the non-reality or ignorance. Rather, the function of his transcendental senses is to constantly be engaged in executing service for the pleasure of Ishvar, the Lord of the entire conscious and non-conscious creation, and to his consort, Ishvari. This is a fact. The terms Jīve Dayā and Vaishnava-sevā are logical and bestow supreme auspiciousness. Srimad Mahaprabhu displayed the ideal of this Jīve Dayā and Vaishnava-sevā. By performing kirtan of Bhagavan's glories, Amanda Daya Daya, or pure compassion which never diminishes at any point in time and which never gives negative results, is shown to an unlimited number of bound jivas. And by rendering service to the Vaishnavas who are performing kirtan in a way that is favorable in every respect, the soul's function fully awakens. By personally preaching Bhagavat Katha from village to village, and by engaging his devotees as preachers, Mahaprabhu presented the example of Amanda Daya Daya. Furthermore, he also demonstrated the ideal of service to Vaishnavas who are constantly engaged in kirtan. We have to always remember that if we transgress the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Mahaprabhu by becoming engrossed in modern opinions born of mental speculation, we will in fact be deceived of service to Bhagavan. After hearing a lengthy discourse on Jīva-sevā, we should not go on to become Mayavadis, Bals, Prakrit Sahajyas, or Chidjada Samanvayavadis, those persons who equate transcendence with worldliness, and thus deviate from the genuine path. May Jīve Dayā and Vaishnava-sevā be our sole ideal. May Jīve Dayā, Name Ruchi, and Vaishnava-sevā be our sole guiding principle. So this is translated from the Sri Gaudiya Patrika, year 15, issue 4, in 1964. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gos Mahārāja Param Gurudev Ki Jai. All right, so that is our reading for today. I was going to read an article by Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj, but actually I think it would be good if I started working on getting this back matter ready. So I'm going to do that now. And thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. And the way I'm understanding this article, I mean, to be honest, I was actually, like, songbook things kept on popping in my mind, and I needed to, like, no, focus on the article. But so I wasn't actually as deeply absorbed in the article as I should have been. But anyways, just the ideas that came in my head. I mean, just like what I was understanding is the Jiva is an eternal servant of Krishna by constitution, right? Jiva Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. And so if you can't actually serve the Jiva in the true sense, we're just serving the external covering of the Jiva, right? At the same time, it doesn't mean that, oh, we should just not do anything for Jivas. And no, but we should have compassion for the Jivas. And so it doesn't mean that we want to help the Jivas, but so feeding the poor and all that, we can do that, but it should be done for wanting their ultimate benefit. So if we feed the poor, we should feed them Mahaprasad, because then they get Sukriti, and then they'll eventually come into Sadhu Sangha and like that. Like we're wishing that the ultimate eternal benefit of every jiva to help move them towards, bring about like helping them come closer to realizing what their real nature is as a servant of Krishna. So we do all sorts of acts, for the jivas, but out of compassion for the jiva, to bring them to that position, not just to serve the mundane body and desires and like that of jivas. So there isn't any such thing as Jīva-sevā, but only Jīve Dayā. Yeah. All right. I'll just do a short Jaidvani and then we'll end for here. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Shri Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Saparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki Jai, जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि, वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवतार पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Dhanavad pranams, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, and all the devotees watching on YouTube and Facebook. Ganga Mataji, Vidyalala Sadiri, Duna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Patita Pavani Didi, and everybody else. Indira Mataji, if she's there, and all other devotees, all devotees watching in the future also, like Shachi Devi, Jai Prabhu, and everybody else. Harivol. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all tomorrow. So in these next few days, while we're getting the songbook ready for the printers, I don't want to, like, as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't want to have to worry about, oh, what, like, I don't want to think when I just want to read whatever is on the page and then like that. And then after we send the songbook to the printers, then I can prepare for the program and think and so in these days, if there are any Rays of the Harmonist articles or any other excerpts from our acharyas, I don't want to start like a book or anything, just little light, small things. But if there's anything that you recommend me to read, you can suggest it, send it to me in WhatsApp or send me a message on Facebook Messenger. And yeah, maybe we can read that. So Yeah. All right. Dandavat pranams. Thank you so much for joining. See you all at Equal.